Hi friends, it's Julie and today I'm here with just a little check-in video for you guys. So I want to try out something new on my channel where I do like a little mini wrap-up like every 2 weeks and let you guys know the books that I've already read for the month, the books that I'm currently reading, and the books that I plan on picking up very soon. I'm hoping that if I try out this new thing that I can get away from doing the big like end of the month wrap-ups, because for some reason those just cause me like so much anxiety to film. And I don't know why. Like, I love watching other people's like end of the month wrap-ups, but I just hate filming them. So I'm gonna try out this new system and see how it works. But so far this month, I've already read 3 books and 1 graphic novel. And the first book that I read for the month was Sworn to Silence by Linda Castillo. This is a thriller and a pretty dark thriller, and I really enjoyed this one. So this book is set in this very small town called Painter Mills. It's like this little country town with a pretty big Amish population. And one night, one of the police officers on duty comes across this woman's body. She's been murdered, like really brutally murdered, and looks like she's been tortured. It's just like absolutely horrific. So he calls out the chief of police, and when she gets there and sees this woman, it reminds her of these murders that had happened in this town like 16 years previously. Like, this woman's body looks very similar to those other women, and so she starts thinking, like, do we have a copycat killer, or is this killer back after being gone for so long? And that is a mystery that we're trying to figure out in this book. And I'm just gonna say, like, I absolutely loved this. I flew through it. It was such a page turner. I really enjoyed the characters. I enjoyed getting to know them. And I'm sure, like, this is the first book in a series, and so I'm sure we're just gonna get to know them even more over the course of the series. I think there's already like 6 or 7 books out, and I didn't figure out who the killer was before it was revealed. So that was definitely a plus, because that can just like completely make or break a thriller for me. The writing isn't spectacular. Like, it's not like Gillian Flynn level for me, but I still thought it was pretty good. She repeated some of the same phrases, but that didn't really bother me. I really enjoyed it. And I would definitely recommend this if you enjoy like fun, dark thriller. Although I do want to point out that this is a pretty dark one. Like, there's torture and rape and some pretty gruesome scenes, so do know that going into it. But if you don't mind those things and you want a really fun thriller, then I would definitely check this one out. And then next I finished The Butcher's Hook by Janet Ellis, which is a literary fiction novel set in London in like the mid-1700s. And the main character is this young girl named Anne. She's like 19, and she falls in love with the butcher's boy. And they just get caught up in this romance, and then it just ends like really terribly. Like, that's all I'm gonna say about the plot. But this book just wasn't for me. I completely understand why people would love this book. It just wasn't for me, and so kind of let me explain why. So I picked this book up because I heard it was a pretty dark story, and you guys know I enjoy dark stories, and there definitely were some darker elements to it, but I don't read a lot of literary fiction. So when I went into this novel, I was expecting it to be a little bit more, I don't know, maybe along the lines of like burial rites, and it was not at all. This reads like a classic. Like, this reads like a dark Jane Austen novel. Like, that's what I'm gonna say. And so it just wasn't for me because I wasn't expecting it, and so it just took me a little bit longer to get into the story because I had to get used to the language and things like that. So although this book wasn't for me, I do think that if you enjoy literary fiction, you enjoy classics, and you like a darker story, I would definitely recommend picking this up because I think this book would be right up your alley. It just wasn't for me. And then this month I also finished A Court of Rings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas. Now, this is the 3rd and final book in this trilogy, so I'm not going to go into too much detail about it. I just briefly wanted to say that I enjoyed this. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I think it was a little too long. I definitely think that there was some stuff that could have been cut out because not very much happens until the very end. It definitely wasn't a page turner for me like the first 2 books were, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that there was just no sexual tension in this book. I mean, in the first one we have that with Tamlin, in the second book we have that with Rhysand, but in this 3rd book they're already a couple, so there isn't any more of that will they or won't they. I mean, they're going to because they're a couple, and so it just wasn't quite as exciting. I do think that it was a solid conclusion to the story, but I'm kind of glad that this trilogy is over. I don't think I'm going to be continuing on with the future books. I'm not going to say I won't for sure, but right now I think this story is done for me and I don't have any desire to continue. And then yesterday I read Saga Volume 7. This is the most recent volume in this graphic novel series that, if you guys have watched my channel for any amount of time, I've mentioned this a few times. I really enjoy it. It's a fun sci-fi graphic novel series. I just love breaking up all of my novels over the month with something like this, and this one is so fun. Like, the characters are just so over the top. And I will say though that the last two volumes, this one and volume 6, have been my favorite in the series, like hands down, because they're not quite as over the top as the other ones were. I mean, these are starting to focus a little bit more on that main storyline, and I really think that they've stepped it up these last two volumes. And now I have to wait a while for the next one. I think these only come out like once a year. Correct me if I'm wrong, because that would be awesome. But I do think we'll have to wait a little bit to continue on with this, but I can't wait. So those are all the books I've already read this month, and right now I'm currently reading two, and one of those is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, and guys, I'm loving this, like loving this so much. I'm like 100 pages into it, and I'm just so sucked into this story. I really enjoyed Jane as a character. She's just so feisty, and I'm just so happy I'm enjoying this because I don't read a lot of classics, and so I was a little nervous to pick this one up because the last classic I read was Pride and Prejudice, and I didn't really love that one, so I was a little nervous, but I was so wrong. I'm finding that the language is a lot more accessible for me in this one. It's just a lot easier to read. It's quicker paced. I mean, it's not very slow, and I'm just really enjoying it. And then I'm also reading Pet Sematary by Stephen King. I'm about halfway through this, and I'm really enjoying it this time around. I tried to pick it up last year, and just for some reason I couldn't get into it. I think it just wasn't in the mood for it. I definitely was this time, and I'm really enjoying this one too. It's just now starting to get like a little bit scary, and I'm waiting for this scene that I vaguely remember as a little girl watching in the movie, and it completely terrified me. I was scared of cats for years after watching this. And I don't really remember it. I just remember this one little detail, this one scene. And so I'm like weirdly excited to get to that in this book just because I like to scare myself. So I'm only reading this one at night to try and like up the scare factor a little bit, but I'm really enjoying it. And then after I finish one of those books, I'm going to be starting Girls Like Us by Rachel Lloyd. I know I've talked about this a few times on my channel already. This is nonfiction about human trafficking, which is a subject that I want to learn more about. And I haven't picked it up yet because I'm trying this new thing that where I only read 2 books at a time. I find that I can get into a story more if I'm not reading so many books. So I'm trying to just stay with 2. So once I finish one of those, I will definitely be picking this up. And then after I finish the other one, I am going to start Mad Ship by Robin Hobb. This is the second book in the Life Ship Trader trilogy, and I'm just so excited to get back into this world. Like, I loved the first book so much, like Ship of Magic. It was just so fantastic. The writing was incredible. I loved all the characters and the setting. I mean, there are pirates and literally ships that come to life. Like, I don't know if you can see this man. These are the old school covers. Like, I don't know if you can see this man right here on this front of the ship, but he's like the figurehead of the ship, and he literally comes to life, and so he can talk, and he can steer the ship and all these things. It's just so great, and I can't wait to jump back into this world. But those are all the books that I've already read this month and the books that I'm either currently reading or plan on picking up very soon. Please leave me a comment down below and let me know if you read any of these and what your thoughts on them were. But I think that's it for the day, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all again very soon. Happy reading. Bye!